So welcome back to Favorite Friday. In this case, we are going to Wisconsin. This case is kind of controversial because I don't have a name on our killer, and it's not because we don't know exactly who the killer is. They know who the killer is. She's in a mental institution. However, because of her age, her name has not been publicly released, and her mom has went on TV with interviews, but because of like protection laws, they ain't released the mom's name either. Because if they find out who the mom is, they can find social media or whatever. They could be like, well, she has a daughter that's around this age, so boop, that's the daughter's name, and the daughter's name get leaked. Yeah, we got one of those cases where the killer is so young, we legally cannot release her name. So with that being said, of course, since we legally can't release her name, I don't have no date of birth. All I have is information that's publicly available so far. So we're gonna start with what we have and some quick rambling, and let's go and get started. So in September of 2017, our killer in this case, who was 10, yes, you heard me right, a 10-year-old, and her brother, that's whether he's younger or older, they get removed from the household because apparently the parents were being abusive. They were abusive and they were also doing drugs, and so they get removed from their house and put into a foster home. She would get returned to the house in April of 2018, so good 7 months later, and then sadly she would wind up being molested by a neighbor's kid. It didn't say whether it was just a one-time thing or a multiple-time thing, but it is at least once it was confirmed. What exactly happened to that kid, how old he is, it didn't say all that, but I would like to assume something happened to him also. Apparently after it happened, he was still harassing her, so she would eventually beat him up, so good for her on that. After this point, she would sadly start self-harming herself, and then at the end of August 2018, this is where she would go to a daycare, apparently to cool off. And so she would start getting counseling, which is, that's good. And she would say that she didn't have thoughts of hurting herself or others. But at the same daycare, we also have Jackson Robert Hunter. And apparently Jackson Hunter was born on April 6, 2018. Don't know if it's allowed, but apparently there were times where she was allowed to hold Jackson and even play with him. And so on October 30th, 2018, Jackson was apparently supposed to be taking a nap because at the time of the story, Jackson was only 6 months old. And so he's left inside alone with the 10-year-old. And there was a woman that was running this daycare by the name of Amber. Amber is outside running around with all other kids because, the other kids, they active. We got to get them, kids do. You got to have them running around because, kids are energetic. So she picks up, she would claim that Jackson started crying, which of course, remember I said he's 6 months old. So obviously babies, they cry. That's what they do. That's how they communicate. Well, she decides we're going to pick him up like we normally do because, apparently she was somehow allowed to be able to pick this child up. And in the process of trying to pick him up, she accidentally dropped him. As you can imagine, the baby would start crying louder. So instead of trying to go get help or just not knowing what to do, she stomps on him until he's silent. Until there's he's not making any more noise, and then she puts him back, and then she covers him up like nothing happened. So then, of course, Amber comes in to check on Jackson eventually. Doesn't say when, but eventually that day she would check on him. She saw, the bruises on him, so then 911 does get called. He gets airlifted to St. Paul Hospital, and Jackson Robert Hunter would sadly die on November 1st. So, 2 days later. So then, of course, the 10-year-old girl, so she's the one that is responsible for this, she's put into a mental health institution for juveniles for 2 months, and then her bail to get out was $50 grand. So a GoFundMe was eventually created to have the bail money created to basically raise the bail money for her. Understandably, ain't nobody gonna help get your daughter out of jail after she just killed some random innocent child. So then that shit is quickly taken down. She gets charged with first-degree murder with intent, despite only being 10 years old. Her defense attorney, which this must have been a public defense attorney, he would try to say that because of her age, which again, she was 10 years old, he would try to say that the case needs to be dropped because of her age and that she only stopped him only once, so it can't really be murder if she only stopped once, even though there's 7 different marks on him proving that she did stomp him at least still 7 different times. If we're able to point out 7 different distinguished stomp marks on this poor baby. So then she would be declared unfit to stand trial, and then she currently apparently is staying in a mental institution until she is declared fit to stand trial. So Jackson's parents, understandably, they're upset that this child died when he didn't even have to. So then Jackson's parents, they go on to file a lawsuit with the Chippewa County Department of Human Services, foster care coordinator Selena Schultz, And director Tim or Tom Izar for placing the 10-year-old in the home despite her obviously being a threat. And of course the case was sadly thrown out. So the last known information that I could find about the case so far is that Nate, Jackson's father, he would create Win for Jax, which is a foundation in memory of Jackson, his son. And then apparently this was to help. And so apparently this foundation helps with like memorials. So I guess memorials for like other people. It helps pay for fees for leagues and then like other stuff. So basically he's trying to keep his son's memory. Like, yes, my son may have went out tragically, but I want to keep something positive out of this. So, if I find the site for the foundation, definitely leave it down below, like I did for the Victoria Kalimbe case, because I definitely feel that I love when I hate that someone has to die for the foundation to start, but I love when the family does try to keep their memory alive, even though, yes, this was a child, this was my child, so I feel like their memory should still be alive, and they should still be here, and, you know, rightfully so. So definitely know what you think down below. Do you think 10 years old, you should be charged as, I feel like you should be charged as a juvenile if you're 10, if anything. But of course, let me know what you think down below. Do you think the girl's name should be publicly released by her only being like 10 years old? And do you think the mother, because the mother's pretty much like defending her daughter, saying her daughter's not a killer, even though technically she did kill Jackson. But anyway, let me know what you think down below about all this, because it's definitely crazy. Sources down below as always. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me?